I'm Minerva, and I'm back with another episode of Day Talks. And today we have Nipun with us. Nipun is an architect, photojournalist, and a writer. Thank you so much, Nipun, for joining us today and for contributing to Abir Pothi.
Thank you, Nava. Thanks for inviting me.
Tell us about how did architecture find you, and then how did you manage to span your practice to photojournalism and writing?
I was always interested in spaces and the interaction of humans with spaces. But I never knew that it was something I was noticing. I was just noticing it at the back of my mind, and I was also very curious about other forms of art, including painting, photography. In fact, my first commission ever was when I was in school, and I was just painting on that time. There were used to be Yahoo chat room, so I was just painting on Yahoo chat room. They had a paint tool, and which was different from MS Paint, so it had more brushes. So I just started painting, and for some days I did, and then suddenly somebody messaged saying that, "Oh, the paintings are. Would you like to make some paintings for my house?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And this is how it started. And I realized that, there's also something in art. That and I was in 10th grade at that time. So I mean, this is how it started. But then I realized that the intersection of what all I like, including science, but also art, and also your visual studies in some way, was architecture. And when I actually got into it, then it uh, in the first few years, like, it really made me realize that this is a field I want to get into. But at the same time, I also realized that this field also allows one to explore other related fields, because the laws of beauty are the same, the laws of designing are the same. You have rhythm and harmony and repetition in architecture, in painting, in photography, even in writing. But that I realized much later in life. So yeah, so I mean, this is how it started, but not through any iconic building. Probably, I would say one building which really inspired me was the Bharat Bhavan, based in Popeye, by Karl Korea. And I'm really lucky that now I have my studio 5 minutes from Panagok.
Oh, that's so cool. And I think working on Yahoo is such a millennial thing. I mean, I cannot to Gen Z. I think I've used Yahoo. I think I had Yahoo email address back when I was in fourth or fifth grade. I never knew to painting on Yahoo.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have, I mean, in our computer notebooks, we used to have a separate chapter on chat. Oh, this is how we chat with other people.
Uh, Pre-internet era.
It's,
This must.
I mean, internet was just arriving in the mainstream in India.
Hmm.
Yes.
So, what are some projects keeping you busy nowadays?
Hmm. So I run this collective called Dhammada, and Dhammada Collective is based out of Bhopal, and there are other partners as well. Silran Channa is also from Bhopal, also a designer, and Nilesh Chuman is town planner. And then we keep on having many people come and contribute. So uh, I think I put my light in different vessels. One of the vessel is architecture, and especially architecture around communities. Currently, the projects we're working on, one is making prototypes of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, which is this housing for all scheme by the government of India. But generally, what we see now when we go to the villages is that in some ways it has taken, for the lack of better word, destroyed the ecosystem of that place, because we see all the traditional houses are vanishing, and concrete boxes are just coming up randomly. So this is what also, I mean, the supply chain is like that. That cement and bricks are now easier to get in the villages than mud. And it's also easy for the government to note down, to get the numbers. You can easily say that, like 200 bricks have been used in this house. But it's difficult to say how many cubic feet of mud has been used, because there's no calculation like that. And communities used to build together. So those kind of things. So a lot of traditional practices have been vanishing. So the government of Madhya Pradesh invited us and asked us to show how to best design that in a scenario. So we started making prototypes. So we are doing prototype housing in 8 districts in Madhya Pradesh, and going to that region, studying the crafts of that place, studying the spatial configuration, studying how communities live. And each region has a different way of living, different way of building. So we are trying to see that, and also see 10 years from now how lifestyle would be. And then thinking about all of that, journeying around that, and then making just one room and one kitchen houses in each of the, and all of them are different. One thing we also realized in this was, biggest challenge in the rural houses is not just the place for sleeping, but also a place for storage. So we are trying to now find new ways of integrating storage inside the elements of building. So yeah, so that's one very interesting and important project we are doing. Then we just some time ago we finished a school in Himachal Pradesh, where landslide had happened. We are Maldi, and we rebuilt that school. Organization called Seeds, they invited us to come and design the primary school now. And we designed, and we recently got a small award to go back and finish the work that was not that you were not able to do earlier. So now in February, we'll be going to the school and we'll be staying there for 1 month, and this be building furniture ourselves. So yes, so these are the kind of
Even this government project you've been talking about sounds so interesting, and I think it is kind of also an evolution of how the town planning would take new kind of thinking and new ideas. This sounds so interesting. And sure, work must be so.
yeah, we have a lot of fun. That's it. And working with the communities is always fun, because then you don't get into that whole lingo of posh architects and designers. Where, you have to be in a certain way, behave in a certain way. I think working with communities teach us a lot to be grounded, to be truly ourselves, and build relationships first, and then think of all the other things.
Very true. So, which project do you find the most challenging and you find the most interesting? I mean, I'm sure there must be challenges to think in new ways.
I think working on post-disaster projects uh, has been a challenge, but it teaches one a lot. I mean, I started work uh, in my internship. The first project I went to was Muzaffarnagar, which where riots had happened in 2013. Riots had happened, and we were rebuilding their houses. So I was actually living with the communities as an intern for Hola Shala Foundation, and that was pretty intense, because people had gone through a trauma, and then you won't really understand when you actually uh, just visit it and come back, but actually when you stay there. So that was, I mean, it was a big challenge, but it also taught me so many things. Like, first of all, it um broke down my notion of what design and architecture is, because then we are doing working with the people are the ones who come first, and in our college we are generally taught that the architect's ego has to be so high that you dictate everything. They like our seniors used to give examples of architects who throw their furniture in the drawing room so nobody can move on it. But that's not what working with communities taught me. So that was a challenging project. I think after that I was in Nepal for 2 years, working with the nuns and monks, Tibetan refugee nuns and monks, and rebuilding the meditation houses after the earthquake, which happened in 2015. So then it becomes more less about design, more about uh, exchange of ideas, conversations, listening to them first, those kind of things. So that's generally challenging, but now I'm pretty used to it. And then excited. I mean, this is equally exciting also about how do you, uh, navigate through those challenges and do nice work. But then something that keeps me very exciting is also this whole idea of a new way of thinking, new way of working on ground with communities. For example, using VR, virtual reality, or mixed reality. So right now, our process is, for example, there's another project we're working on in Madhya Pradesh, in 11 villages of Madhya Pradesh, with MP tourism, where we are designing homestays for the communities. I mean, for homestays for outsiders to visit those villages and stay there. But it's done, built by the community, and it's done in a way that it's local and it's sustainable. So what we generally do is we first do 2, 3 visits just to understand how the place is and what kind of materials they use, and then we go back and we do some designs. We make small drop models, and we also put sheets. So a lot of time, the first thing that we have to explain to the community is what is an architect, who is an architect, what is architecture, what is a plan application section. So sometimes that's unnecessary knowledge, which is not needed. We ultimately we want to discuss on how their houses would be. So now we started using mixed reality, where we put on mixed reality glasses on them, and then they can actually walk in their house before it is being constructed on their site. So that, yeah, so these kind of things, I think it's very important that we use cutting edge tech in communities, because that connection never happens. Generally, tech is reserved for the upper class bidders, or the adapters. So so this is something that really excites me. On We use three different things, but we also think very deeply about using tech in a way that it does not replace artisans, it does not replace ads. So how, how will it add to the craft rather than take away that craft from that person? So yeah, so these are the kind of projects which I find really interesting. I think I also probably talked about the process.
Yeah, you did. And I love how you have such good, I mean, principles on field. I mean, how you want that to be accessible to people who are not from the upper class. I think it is so inspiring to even hear about it, that, somebody is working to bridge that gap between what's your relationship with the architecture, and has it evolved over the years?
Either architecture earlier, I used to think was a process of form making, where we ultimately, build a structure. But now I think it's more about conversations, and it's about relationships. Uh, because I mean, from starting to end, if we are not able to communicate, the ultimate structure won't really work. So now I feel that earlier product was more important, but now I think process is more important than the product. And if process is done right, then ultimately product would be brilliant. And I also feel now that architecture is not beyond just the space making. It involves so many other crafts. In fact, there's a writer called Esther Charlesworth, and she has done a book where she says that architect plays many roles, including the role of a politician sometimes. Sometimes just as a facilitator. sometimes just as a designer, but sometimes also as a politician. So there's so many things that comes with it, and this is how I think my understanding has also evolved. The other thing that has shaped is now I don't have to really think before switching fields. Like earlier, I used to change my frame of mind if I am going on a photojournalism assignment. And if I, let's say, of a building, so I had to change my frame of mind. If I look at it as an architecture, or if I look at the thing as a photojournalist, if I look at it, it is different. As an architect, if I look at it, it is different. But now I don't have to do that anymore. It just all flows in together. So yeah, so I think these are the things which have evolved over time.
Tell us more about you working as a photojournalist and a writer.
So when I was in college, one thing I had decided was that in every vacation, I would do something that is not architecture. And in my first summer vacations, I went to the Hindustan Times to intern as a photojournalist. And that time, and I got a really nice mentor, Gurinder Rosan, who's now heading PPI in Delhi. So that, I mean, totally transformed the way I look at images on, how I was, I would say from school onwards, so I was using phone, digital cameras, all that different mediums, to make aesthetic images. But after doing that internship, I realized the power of photography, which is to tell stories of other people, to that, which is that goes beyond just aesthetic. And how do you combine just to make a photo essay or a photo story? And there's so many nuances to that. So that was really fascinating, and I decided to continue that. So even when I was uh, doing projects in remote Nepal districts, I was also photographing them. I was documenting them. Sometimes I was also publishing about some things. There was a time when there was this monks project, and that project was delayed for like 6 months because he was supposed to design their monastery at China-Nepal border. And then suddenly one day, Chinese army came in and said that you can't build within 30 kilometer range of this. So they had to buy new land. And so that whole process took 6 months. And I was in Kathmandu. So I was just walking around every day. I was just walking around and photographing doors of Kathmandu. And one day I just saw my phone and I realized that there was suddenly because of those that I was taking. Then I started actively and talking to people about what are the symbols and meanings behind that door. And it was fascinating. It built world of looking at those doors and being a detective and understanding just looking at symbols about who could be inside, which and there were so many things from that symbol that you could decipher, and so many myths and legends around that. So that project actually took me to Cornell as a fellow, South Asia fellow, where I spent a semester studying the doors and the idea of the show. So, and even now, like apart from those, I work on a lot of other assignments for New York. Well, I mean, I've done one for New York Times on birdhouses of cats, and I work with the rest of world. I'm writing for wallpaper nicing these days about art, like staying. So there's this one series which is Naped happening, and now I just finalized the third part of that series, where I go and stay in architect's house, and I photograph it and write about my experience. So see, these are all curiosities, and sometimes it's related to architecture, sometimes it's totally unrelated. But this helps me keep my creative side alive. Uh, and this also helps me to do my favorite thing, which is traveling.
Mm.
Both places.
This sounds so interesting, especially the Kathmandu story you were telling how you were there for months and you started photographing. Sounds so cool. I'm sure you had so many great experiences to have for life. What's this one piece of advice you'd like to give to young people coming out and working in the industry?
I think um, I would suggest them to pause and really think, um, and again, like, travel a lot, because I've seen, like, I really get a lot of interns and I also go to colleges. And so the tech that we have now is, I mean, anyone can do anything. And it's great. It's really great that anybody has the power to learn anything, which was not, like 50 years ago, it was a, it was like only elites could do that, or only people with privilege could do that. But now anybody can. But it also comes with some responsibility in terms of the attention span that you have, because there's so many things and the attention span changes. So I would say just giving a little pause, taking some rest or focus on one thing would really help. I'm going on ground, reaching the communities, or working with organizations, or working with communities. That really helps to understand, because now the gap is also bridging a lot. uh, you don't really know what happens in the villages. And even now a lot of India is in the rural area, right? And so the that gap is just increasing again and again. And I really think that unless we go there, we will never understand what it is to be like, in that area. And I think the genuine human stories also a lot of times come from there. So yeah, so I think that, and then traveling a lot, because traveling is teaching. I mean, the only way to really learn is through travels, through other people's experiences, and to creating your own experiences. So I think these are the kind of things. And in terms of architecture, I think taking some being patient is really important. A lot of times we think that, our style comes right as soon as we graduate, but that does not really happen. So it evolves slowly. Understand the world evolves slowly. So being patient with that, I think. And also one last thing is to also learn to say no. A lot of times what happens is that when we start a practice as architects, we say yes to everything, even if we don't, if you really believe in that. And then what happens is that then we start getting that kind of projects. And then it's a graph. So I think learning to say no from the beginning really helps, even if the growth is slow. But that really, it helped me at least.
Thank you so much for giving such insightful advices to young people out there. And tell us what or who inspires you, whether is it an established architect or somebody outside the field.
I think inspiration comes from many different places, uh, from books, from people who are not in the field, like craftsmen or photographers. A lot of times, photographers inspire designing, uh, and communities, but also my colleagues, because all of them have a different kind of strength. So these are the, yeah, I think that's one of the main source of inspiration. And especially mentors. I think it's really important to have mentors in life. So my some of my mentors have really changed my trajectory in life, and I think that really inspires me. I think some Indian architecture masters, who I'm, some of them were really famous when we were studying, like Dals Korea, Viri Doshi. They inspire me for sure. But some of them I'm discovering now, like the Kanare brothers, on whom I also put. They used to run a practice in Bangalore, and lot of others like Saint Kapadia. There was this one of the first women architects of India, Bhima Sankaria. All of them I'm discovering now because their names slowly faded away. But I'm working on a book on the architecture, like an architecture travel guide of Bhopal. And I'm realizing that there's so many interesting buildings which have been designed, built, and then forgotten. So in that process, I'm discovering so many interesting things, and it's really fascinating. The fascinating world out there.
I'm sure it must be. And I can't wait to for your book to launch. So that's- I'm not an architect, but I think I'd love to look through it.
I'll send you a copy.
Lastly, what keeps you busy when you aren't working?
Hmm, that's a nice question. When I'm not working on architecture, I work on photography. When I am not working on photography, I make I make tattoos. I make hand poke tattoos for yeah for friends and like people. When I'm traveling, I'm carrying my tattoo kit, and I random people if they want, I just make for them. So and when I'm not doing that and writing, or I mean, I follow this one funda that every day I want to make something with my hand. So even if it's a small thing or if it's like repairing anything, uh, for myself or my colleagues or like that. So yeah, so there are a lot of things which keep me busy. If even if it's not architecture.
Handbook tattoos are so cool, I swear. Thank you so much, Nipul. It was such an insightful conversation. It was so interesting to know about all your cool stories and your work experiences. And I would really love to meet you. I think whenever I'm in Bhopal, so whenever I'll be there, in Mumbai, and it's really says.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We loved having you with us today. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Catch you real soon. Bye.